Welcome back to Globewise Entertainment, where movies are never just movies, they're experiences that twist your mind and stay with you long after the credits roll. Today, we're diving into something truly explosive. Warning: these 15 shocking movies are not what they seem. These are the kind of films that trick you from the very beginning. You think you understand the story, you think you know the characters, but slowly, everything starts to fall apart. Hidden truths appear, endings flip your expectations, and suddenly, nothing is what it seemed just minutes ago. From psychological mind games to shocking final twists, each movie on this list will challenge how you see storytelling itself. And before we begin, if you haven't subscribed to Globewise Entertainment yet, do it right now. Join our community for more mind-blowing movie breakdowns and hidden cinematic gems. Now tell us in the comments, which movie shocked you the most, or which one should we cover next? Number 15. The Machinist, 2004. The Illusion of Guilt. At first glance, The Machinist looks like just another psychological thriller about insomnia, but it's far more disturbing than that. Trevor Resnick is a factory worker who hasn't slept in a full year. His body is wasting away, his mind is slipping, and reality itself feels unstable. Every day, he drifts deeper into paranoia, seeing strange notes in his apartment, a mysterious coworker who no one else seems to notice, and eerie events that suggest something is terribly wrong. But here's the shocking part. The film doesn't just show his decline, it makes you feel it. As Trevor searches for answers, he becomes convinced that someone is targeting him, sabotaging his life piece by piece. Every clue leads him into darker confusion. Every interaction raises one question: is this real, or is his mind collapsing? Then comes the twist that redefines everything. Trevor's enemy isn't out there. It's inside him. The truth reveals a buried guilt so heavy that his own mind refused to let him sleep for an entire year. What he has been chasing as external danger was actually his subconscious punishing him for a past he tried to erase. And when the final pieces snap together, the story transforms from a mystery into a haunting psychological confession. The Machinist isn't just a movie about insomnia. It's about the horrifying price of guilt when the mind becomes its own judge, jury, and executioner. A film that doesn't just shock you, it stays with you. Number 14. Kill List. The movie that starts like crime drama and ends in pure psychological terror. At first glance, Kill List feels like a grounded British crime thriller. Two former soldiers are hired for what seems like a simple contract job: track down and eliminate 3 targets. Nothing unusual. Just another dark, gritty assignment for men who have seen worse. But very quickly, something feels The first target doesn't beg for his life. He smiles. Almost like he's been expecting them. A strange symbol is carved into the wall. No explanation. No context. Just silence that lingers far too long. As the list continues, reality begins to fracture. The missions become more disturbing, the clues more cryptic, and the line between hunter and hunted starts to disappear. The men think they're in control, but every step feels pre-planned by something they don't understand. What starts as a crime job slowly mutates into something far darker, ritualistic, psychological, and deeply unsettling. By the final act, Kill List abandons every expectation of the genre. There are no clear answers. No comfort. Only dread, confusion, and a horrifying sense that the entire journey was never about the contract at all. And that's why Kill List earns its place on this list, because it isn't just shocking for what happens, but for how quietly it steals your sense of reality while you're watching. Number 13. Donnie Darko, 2001. At first glance, Donnie Darko looks like a strange teenage drama, just a quiet, awkward high school kid in suburban America, dealing with sleepwalking, therapy sessions, and odd visions of a creepy giant rabbit named Frank. But very quickly, something feels off. Donnie starts seeing Frank, who tells him the world will end in exactly 28 days. From that moment, reality itself begins to bend. Time loops, destiny shifts, and everyday life turns into something far more disturbing and mysterious. What makes this film truly shocking is not jump scares or action. It's the feeling that nothing you're watching is stable. Events repeat, cause and effect break apart, and Donnie seems trapped inside a timeline that is collapsing in on itself. As the days count down, Donnie's choices grow heavier. Is he hallucinating, or is he the only one who can see the truth about time and fate? The deeper you go, the more the story refuses to give clear answers. And that's the twist. Donnie Darko is not just a movie, it's a puzzle. A psychological time loop mystery disguised as a teenage drama. Every scene has hidden meaning, every detail connects to something bigger, and the ending forces you to question everything you just watched. Even after it ends, you're left staring at the screen thinking, what was real? That's why Donnie Darko is one of the most shocking films on this list, not because of what it shows you, but because of what it makes you question long after it's over. Number 12. The Skin I Live In, 2011. At first glance, it looks like a sleek psychological thriller, a wealthy, brilliant plastic surgeon living in a futuristic mansion, obsessed with creating the perfect, indestructible skin. But The Skin I Live In quickly turns into something far darker and far more disturbing than anyone expects. Dr. Robert Ledyard isn't just experimenting with science, he's crossing every moral boundary imaginable. Behind the locked doors of his isolated estate, he keeps a mysterious woman named Vera under constant surveillance. She's elegant, calm, almost unreal, but nothing about her existence is what it seems. As the story slowly unravels, the truth hits like a shockwave. This isn't just a tale of obsession, it's about identity, revenge, and psychological control pushed to the extreme. Every detail you thought you understood gets twisted, revealing a reality that redefines the entire film. What makes it truly unforgettable is how it manipulates the viewer. You think you're watching a thriller, but you're actually trapped in a carefully constructed psychological nightmare. By the final reveal, it forces you to question everything you've seen and everything you believed about the characters. This is not just a movie you watch, it's a movie that stays with you long after it ends. Number 10. The Guest, 2014. At first glance, The Guest looks like a simple story of a polite stranger returning home from war, but that's exactly how it traps you. A quiet American town, a grieving family, and then, out of nowhere, a soldier named David shows up, claiming he served with their son who died in combat. He's respectful, almost too perfect. He helps the family heal, fixes problems around the house, and even protects the town from local troublemakers. Everyone trusts him. But something feels wrong. Because David isn't just a guest, he's a mystery no one can solve. As the story unfolds, the film slowly shifts from emotional drama to a chilling psychological thriller. Strange accidents begin to happen. People who question him start disappearing from the equation in very convenient ways. And the small-town piece begins to crack. The more you learn about David, the less human he feels, and the more dangerous the situation becomes. What makes The Guest so shocking is not loud horror or gore. It's the way it quietly flips from comforting to terrifying without warning. One moment you feel safe, the next, you realize you've been watching a predator blend perfectly into normal life. And by the time the truth is revealed, it's already too late to feel safe again. Because the real horror isn't what he does. It's how easily he was welcomed in. Number 9. Angel Heart, 1987. The film that tricks you until the very last frame. At first glance, Angel Heart looks like a classic noir detective story. A private investigator named Harry Angel is hired for a simple missing person case. A faded singer. A forgotten contract. A trail that leads from the smoky streets of New York straight into the shadows of New Orleans. But nothing in this film is simple. As Angel digs deeper, the case becomes disturbing, almost wrong. Every clue he finds seems to disappear into darkness. Every person he questions ends up dead or terrified. And the further he goes, the more it feels like reality itself is slipping. The film pulls you in with slow, hypnotic tension, jazz-filled clubs, flickering lights, and unsettling conversations that never fully make sense. Then comes the descent. Strange rituals. Blood-stained secrets. A mysterious figure named Louis Cypher, who always seems to be one step ahead, watching, waiting. And just when you think you understand what's happening, everything shatters. The truth behind Harry Angel's identity is not just a twist, it's a psychological collapse. The kind that forces you to question every scene you've watched from the beginning. Because Angel Heart isn't really about a missing person. It's about identity, sin, and something far more terrifying than crime, the idea that you might not be who you think you are. By the time the final reveal hits, the detective story is gone, replaced by something darker, more disturbing, and unforgettable. And that's why Angel Heart isn't just a movie. It's a warning disguised as a mystery. Number 8. Parasite, 2019. The Lie You Don't See Coming. At first glance, Parasite feels like a simple story about two families, one rich, one poor, living completely different lives in modern Seoul. But what starts as a clever survival hustle quickly turns into something far darker and far more unsettling. The Kim family is struggling to survive in a cramped basement apartment. When the son, Ki-woo, gets a chance to tutor the daughter of a wealthy household, the Park family, it feels like a breakthrough. But instead of stopping there, the Kims slowly infiltrate the entire mansion, one by one replacing trusted staff members. On the surface, it looks like a smart social climb. Even funny at times. Almost satisfying. But that's the trap. Beneath the humor and clever twists, the film is quietly exposing something brutal, the invisible war between classes, where desperation can turn into manipulation, and survival can turn into something morally unrecognizable. Just when you think you understand who the parasites really are, the story flips everything upside down in one shocking night inside the hidden basement of the mansion. What follows is chaos, violence, and a truth the film never lets you escape from. Nobody is truly innocent when the system itself is broken. By the end, Parasite isn't just a movie you watched. It's a feeling that stays with you. A reminder that the real horror isn't ghosts or monsters. It's the world we build to survive in. Number 7. Audition, 1999. The slow descent you never see coming. At first glance, Audition feels like a quiet romantic drama. A widowed man, Shigeru, is encouraged by his friend to find love again. To do it, they organize a fake movie audition, secretly meant to help him select a new wife. Then he meets her. Asami. Soft-spoken, elegant, mysterious, almost too perfect. She seems like the ideal woman, gentle, patient, and deeply emotional. She listens carefully, smiles softly, and carries an almost unreal calmness that instantly draws Shigeru in. But something is off, just slightly. A silence that lingers too long. A past she refuses to fully explain. A presence that feels carefully controlled, like a mask that never slips. Still, he ignores the warning signs. Because loneliness is louder than logic. As the story slowly unfolds, the tone begins to shift, barely noticeable at first. Moments that felt romantic now feel unsettling in hindsight. The warmth fades. The atmosphere tightens. Reality starts to feel wrong. And then comes the final act. Everything you thought the movie was about gets completely shattered in a sudden, brutal shift that redefines every earlier scene. The gentle romance was never what it seemed. The audition was never innocent. And Asami was never just a quiet dream of love. What begins as a love story turns into a psychological trap, one built on obsession, trauma, and control. By the end, Audition doesn't just shock you. It stays with you. Because the real horror isn't what happens on screen, it's realizing how long it was hidden in plain sight. 6. The Handmaiden, 2016. At first glance, The Handmaiden looks like a classic psychological romance set in old Korea, A quiet mansion, a wealthy heiress, and a young maid who seems to be there only to serve. But don't be fooled. Behind its elegant surface, The Handmaiden is actually a twisting psychological trap where nothing, and no one, is what they appear to be. The story begins with a simple con. A pickpocket posing as a maid is hired to help a man seduce and scam a rich woman out of her inheritance. Everything seems planned, controlled, predictable. But as the maid and the heiress grow closer, the story shifts in a direction no one expects. Loyalties blur. Secrets surface. And the real manipulation begins, not from one side, but from every direction. What makes this film so shocking isn't just its bold storytelling, it's how it constantly flips your perspective. Just when you think you understand who is the victim, the movie rewrites everything. By the time the final act unfolds, you realize you've been watching a carefully crafted illusion from the very beginning. The Handmaiden isn't just a romance or a thriller, it's a psychological game of deception, desire, and revenge that keeps pulling the rug from under you until the very last second. And that's exactly why it belongs on this list, because nothing about it is what it seems. 5. Nocturnal Animals, 2016. A love story that turns into a psychological trap. At first glance, Nocturnal Animals looks like a stylish romantic drama about a woman living a wealthy, picture-perfect life in Los Angeles. Art galleries, luxury, and a quiet, emotional distance define her world. But that illusion doesn't last long. When her ex-husband sends her a mysterious manuscript titled Nocturnal Animals, everything changes. What begins as a simple novel turns into a dark, violent revenge story that slowly starts mirroring her own past. As she reads deeper, the lines between fiction and reality begin to blur. The story inside the book follows a man who loses everything in a brutal act of violence, and seeks justice in the most disturbing way possible. But here's the twist. The more she reads, the more it feels like the story is not just about strangers, it's about her. Every page pulls her back into the relationship she tried to forget, exposing guilt, regret, and emotional wounds she buried long ago. By the end, Nocturnal Animals is no longer just a film or a book within a film. It becomes a haunting psychological mirror that forces her to confront the consequences of choices she thought were behind her. And that's what makes it shocking. It was never just a love story. For Strange Darling, 2023. At first glance, Strange Darling looks like just another tense thriller about a dangerous encounter between two strangers. A woman on the run, a man who seems like a predator, and a night that feels like it's heading toward a predictable nightmare. But nothing in this movie is what it seems. The story begins in chaos, gunshots, panic, blood, and a mysterious game unfolding in the middle of nowhere. The woman appears terrified, injured, and desperate. The man? Cold, calculating, and in control. At least, that's what you're led to believe. The film plays with your expectations from the very first scene. It jumps back and forth in time, slowly peeling away layers of truth like skin. Every moment you think you understand the situation, the movie quietly twists it in another direction. What makes Strange Darling so disturbing isn't just the violence. It's how it manipulates perception. The film forces you to question who the real victim is, and who is actually pulling the strings. As the story unfolds, the roles begin to blur. The hunter might not be the hunter at all. And the prey might not be as innocent as she appears. By the final act, the movie delivers a shocking reversal that completely redefines everything you thought you knew. Scenes you once saw as clear suddenly take on a darker, more unsettling meaning. And just when you think it's over, it hits you with one last twist that reframes the entire story in a completely different light. Strange Darling isn't just a thriller, it's a psychological trap. A movie designed to mislead you, challenge you, and then leave you staring at the screen questioning every assumption you made. Because in this story, nothing is what it seems. 3. Hereditary, 2018. At first glance, Hereditary looks like a slow, emotional family drama, the kind of movie about grief, loss, and healing after tragedy. But that's exactly where it tricks you. The story begins after the death of Ellen, the secretive grandmother of the Graham family. Annie, her daughter, tries to move on with her husband and 2 children. But something about Ellen's past feels wrong. Hidden. Almost ritualistic. And then it starts. Strange symbols appear. Unexplainable events follow. And the family slowly begins to fall apart. Not just emotionally, but in ways that feel disturbingly unnatural. What makes Hereditary so shocking isn't just the horror scenes. It's how quietly it destroys your sense of safety. There are no cheap jump scares every minute. Instead, the film builds an unbearable tension, like something is always watching from just outside the frame. Then comes the twist underneath everything. This isn't just a story about grief. It's about inheritance, but not the kind you expect. As Annie digs deeper into her mother's past, she discovers a terrifying truth tied to occult rituals and something far darker than family trauma. The hereditary legacy isn't emotional, it's something supernatural and inescapable. By the final act, the movie stops pretending to be grounded reality at all. It becomes a nightmare unfolding in plain sight, where every character is trapped in a plan they never agreed to. And the ending? It doesn't just shock you. It lingers. Because Hereditary doesn't feel like a film you watched. It feels like something you accidentally uncovered. 2. The Prestige 2006. At first glance, The Prestige looks like just another period drama about 2 rival magicians in Victorian London. 2 men, Robert Angier and Alfred Borden, once friends, now bitter enemies. Their world? Smoke, mirrors, and stage tricks. But what starts as a simple competition for applause slowly transforms into something far darker and far more dangerous. Every performance becomes a war. Every trick becomes a challenge. And every applause hides a secret no one in the audience is supposed to understand. Because in this world, magic isn't just illusion, it's obsession. Angier wants perfection. Borden refuses to reveal his secret. And that single mystery, how did he do it? Turns into a destructive spiral of betrayal, sacrifice, and madness. The shocking truth is, neither of them is playing fair. Not even close. As the story unfolds, what you think is happening keeps changing. A simple rivalry becomes a psychological labyrinth. A magic trick becomes a moral nightmare. And just when you believe you've understood it, the film pulls the rug again. But the real twist of The Prestige isn't just in the final reveal. It's in what both men are willing to lose to be the greatest. Their obsession doesn't just destroy their careers, it consumes their humanity. By the end, you're left questioning everything. Was it worth it? Who actually won? And more importantly, how far would you go to be remembered forever? Because in The Prestige, the greatest illusion is the truth itself. 1. The Invitation, 2015. The dinner that slowly turns into a nightmare. Imagine getting invited to a dinner party by your ex-wife after years of silence. That's exactly what happens to Will in The Invitation. At first, everything feels normal, almost too normal. A beautiful home in the Hollywood Hills, soft music, friendly faces, wine being poured like nothing in the world is wrong. But Will can't shake something off. There's a strange tension in the air. His ex-wife Eden and her new husband David seem different. Not rude, not hostile, just off. Like people who are trying too hard to act like everything is okay. As the night goes on, the dinner slowly transforms from awkward reunion to psychological trap. Guests begin sharing strange beliefs about pain, grief, and acceptance. Smiles feel forced. Conversations start sounding rehearsed. And every time Will tries to question something, he's brushed off like he's the problem. Then come the subtle signs. A locked room, a strange guest list, a mysterious woman who appears injured but calm. Nothing is openly terrifying, but everything feels wrong. And that's the real horror of The Invitation. It doesn't scream at you. It whispers. By the time Will realizes what's happening, the invitation wasn't just for dinner, it was for something far more disturbing. A plan carefully hidden under politeness, wine glasses, and candlelight. The film keeps you guessing until the final moments, blurring the line between paranoia and truth. Because the real question isn't just what's happening at the party. It's whether Will is the only one who still sees reality clearly. And when the truth finally hits, it changes everything you thought you understood about the entire night. The invitation proves one thing: sometimes the most dangerous things aren't loud or violent, they're polite, smiling, and already sitting at the table waiting for you to relax. And that's where things get even more disturbing, because as you've seen, these weren't just movies, they were traps for your expectations, twisting reality right in front of your eyes. From psychological mind games to shocking final reveals, each of these films proves one thing: nothing is ever as simple as it looks on screen. If you enjoyed this journey into the most deceptive and shocking movies ever made, don't forget, this is just the beginning. Make sure you subscribe to Globewise Entertainment right now so you don't miss our next deep dive into hidden cinematic gems, banned films, and unforgettable storytelling that most people overlook. Now we want to hear from you. Which movie shocked you the most in today's list? Or which one do you think should be added next time? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one. Until next time, stay curious, stay shocked, and keep exploring with Globewise Entertainment.